Good afternoon. My name is Drew Mellor and I'm the leader of BCP Council. This is our regular 2-weekly session where you can welcome to answer any questions you like. We used to be doing this just in Facebook, but we're now doing it across all of our platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc. So wherever you're joining on today, thank you very much and welcome. If you put your comments in and we'll look forward to answering them. I'm here for at least next half an hour. So good to be here, everybody. Okay, what we typically do before we move into the question and answer session is just an update in terms of our COVID situation. And our numbers have been remaining relatively steady. They've just started to go down, but it's sort of hovering around about the 500 mark. So we were up sort of nearer 560 per 100,000, and we just sort of come down to 500. It's still really quite high, so transmission is out there. We really recommend it to people, you know, when you can meet outdoors, which is really helpful. Ventilation is a real key part to this. So if you are meeting indoors, you try as best as possible to get some extra ventilation in. You know, open some windows. Vaccine program again been successful. We've now just encouraging people to, as and when you're able to, please get your booster jabs. I think we're seeing across the continent, across Europe, you know, if we can get these booster jabs done, we're going to hopefully prevent a lot of the issues. You may or may not have seen that this week the Joint Vaccinations Institute team have announced that people over the age of 40 will be able to be called through for booster jabs when you've had 6 months since your last one. So please, anybody over the age of 40, look to start getting your booster jabs. And should be really helpful. Just before we go into questions, two quick things I wanted to plug. One was our you may or may not have heard about it, but our insulation scheme. So we've just announced effectively our climate action piece, which is if you've got loft or cavity wall insulation, we are setting up a scheme as BCP Council. We think we're one of the first councils, if not the first in the country, to do it, where we're going to actually be putting money into giving grants to homeowners to get their loft or cavity wall insulation matching a government scheme. So we've got a link on that, which I'm sure one of our colleagues will put into the chat bar. And also just a very quick plug for the Christmas Tree Wonderland that's opening this Friday, 19th of November, running forward until the 2nd of January in Bournemouth. So over 100 illuminations that stretch all the way from the seafront, Triangle, Bill Place, Horseshoe Common, Lansdowne Roundabout, etc. We're going to have the Alpine Bar and Ice Rink as well. So really wonderful time of year, and encourage everybody to get into the town centre in Bournemouth. Okay, so let's get to questions now, and I will see where we can start. Okay, we've got some questions about road sweeping. We'll take that point, and there's a lot of leaves at this time of year, but you asked something specific about Moordown, which we will pick up. Okay, Roy Cousins has got questions about parking on pavements. Okay, Roy, thank you very much for this question. I think we're so just to be clear to people, we enforce parking on the roads, but parking on a pavement is actually a policing matter, not a local council matter. So Roy, I think we do appreciate that this is an issue, and it's it is antisocial behaviour. So we haven't got anything in place currently to look at how we can more directly enforce that. But we are working in increased partnership with the police. I think we'll see across our summer response programme how well that partnership working was. This is a more sort of general point as well around enforcement, and what we've said around cleaner, greener, safer as our main objectives around our place. So we're absolutely committed to that. So we are looking to see how we can more directly step up anything we can do to deliver on that. So although we haven't specifically looked at the block pavements, because that's actually currently a matter for the police, across that wider piece around enforcement, we are looking at. And I think you can see in the summer, for instance, we didn't really have the ability to do towaway vehicles. In the summer we did dozens of them this summer, and we put forward thousands and thousands of parking notices. So we are making an improved attempt around all of that enforcement. But Roy, thank you very much for your questions. We can certainly look into it. Okay. There's a piece from Christine about restricted access to relatives in care homes. Yeah. Okay, Christine. So this is effectively, a matter for care homes. We don't have a huge amount of influence over it. I think what we can say is we're learning more about, we're in a much better position than we were when we're coming to last Christmas about access to relatives. These are very much some of the most vulnerable parts of the parts of the community. So there is going to still be some restriction, but most care homes that we're aware of, are allowing access. It just has to be planned and protected, and I think that's seems reasonable. Okay, so Anne's asked a question about how do I get to order my garden bin when I can't get to speak to anyone? Okay, Anne, I think I'll do a couple of things in this point. Well, first of all, it's a plug for our garden bin, our green bins. So anybody across BCP is entitled to a green bin, which is for their garden waste. You can also put cardboard in it as well. So we've got a link, which I'm sure one of our colleagues will find and put in the chat. Brilliant, thank you very much. There. So all you need to do is to follow that link, register your card details effectively, and a garden bin will come and be presented to you when we start again next year. But I think your point specifically was around if you can't speak to people. So first of all, we'd encourage as many people as possible to look online, which is what we just the link we just put up there. But if you need to be able to, some people don't want to do it online. So what we're doing through our transformation program is to really try and put as many people as we can online, so that then it frees up space for people to be able to speak to people when that's the method they would rather do. So go online first, but please do call us if there's a specific problem. And as in you haven't been able to get a hold of anybody, please contact me. My email address is drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. So a few things. Please go online. If that doesn't work, or you would rather speak to somebody, phone the numbers. But if you any problem with our customer services, please let me know about it. And thank you. Okay, yeah, again, Val's asked a question about the telephone issues to stop people who cannot go online. Val, I think I've just addressed that. We've had it has actually been a huge issue, through the last, through the pandemic, affected all of our staff, have been, vast majority working from home. That has created issue around our telephony and our rates of customer service effectively have gone down. We had a meeting this week expressly about moving that forward, and I've asked the transformation team to sort out an immediate solution to it. So it is something that's absolutely the height of our agenda. The background effectively is we've got a longer term solution around our transformation and digitalisation of services, and also our customer services piece. But that's going to take 18 months, 24 months. And we've effectively said, myself and our community engagement lead member, Jane Kelly, said that it's unacceptable to not improve it in a shorter term. So, a work stream is in place, and we're absolutely committed to investing in it in the short term. So thank you very much for the feedback. Again, if there are any specific or persistent issues, please do email me, drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. But improving our customer services is absolutely something that we're focusing on. Okay, fine. Yeah, so Sarah Churchill sent a question in around EHCP, so education healthcare plans, effectively what they mean. So we've got and there's a bit of background to this for people. This is effectively special educational needs funding. Forcing schools to declare what they're spending EHCP funding on. So in terms of that, Sarah, so that's actually a sort of a national piece in terms of what schools are directed in terms of how they spend their EHCP. I see your MP is requesting your son's school declare what they're spending the money on, but they've refused to disclose it. So, I'm more than happy to look into it. We've got your email, Sarah, and we will do. But more specifically, that point is around schools having the discretion, in terms of how they're spending EHCPs, which needs to be directed more to the individual pupils. Okay. A question about recycle bin not being emptied. So all our services in recycling services are being collected. So all of our teams are out. So if a bin's been missed, you can report it. And again, I'm sure one of our team will put up how we report any missed bins. Okay, Susan Lennon, a question about the Folkestone station. The question is, why are the Conservatives saying they are funding the lift at Folkestone when it's not been decided yet, and the Overview and Scrutiny Committee rejected it? Yeah, thanks, Susan. Really appreciate the question. A bit of background, effectively. So the Folkestone train station it doesn't have any. It's got steps. It doesn't have an ability to be accessed by people with accessibility needs, i.e. people in wheelchairs and with disabilities. The train companies had stated through, there'd been a long campaign, Tobias Elwood and I know Andy Jones, so Tobias Elwood, the MP, Andy Jones, the councillor for Boscombe, have a long-running campaign with a number of other members of the community. I believe it's been going on for about 10 years, trying to put pressure on the train company to get to put lifts back in at that station. So what effectively happened there was around about £1.5 million was pledged effectively by the train companies to do that. We then put extra pressure on that when we became an administration for that money to be spent, and effectively what was pledged by the train companies wasn't enough. So we were actually at a point of time where we were sitting down with the train companies saying, well, it's going to cost us significantly more than for the money we've got to do it. Tobias Elwood managed to get National Rail to come in with an extra in the region of about £1.5 million, but there's still a funding gap of over a couple of £1 million. So what we've suggested, and it is very much, you're right, Susan, is a Conservative suggesting it, is around, well, actually, do we want to improve that station? Do we want to continue to moan about it not being accessible, or actually are we going to go and do something about it? We, in our last budget, brought forward a £50 million futures fund, which is a pot of money we can then choose to invest in across the conurbation, rather than have to wait for government grants effectively. We're suggesting that actually, one, accessibility is really important. Two, Boscombe is a really important regeneration area, and we talk about in our big plan about effectively arrival points into our towns and effectively our city region. That particular train station is really important for Bournemouth, AFC Bournemouth, and as a destination point, it's not good enough. So one, it doesn't look good enough. Two, the accessibility is really poor on it, and we're saying we want to improve it. So we can either complain about it and it not happen and still look rubbish and effectively not have any access. So what we're saying is we can fund it, so we can match fund it. So it nails down the money coming in from National Rail and a train operator, and so it brings that money to being spent in the location, and it gets much improved. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're suggesting. You're right. It went to overview and scrutiny, as all major policies do, and it was a really good debate of overview and scrutiny, and effectively as a recommendation not to go ahead with it. So that will now come to cabinet, and cabinet will then decide what we want to do with that recommendation, and then because it's over £1 million, it would go to full council to decide. The Conservative administration is absolutely committed to delivering the accessibility improvements in Boscombe. It'd be really quite interesting to see what some of the other parties want to do, and we were disappointed that they didn't come and support effectively our investment into Boscombe. Boscombe's a really key area for us as a Conservative administration, and we're very much up for investing in the station. Ultimately, the decision will be made by full council, Susan, so not by cabinet, not by overview and scrutiny committee, but by full council, and we very much look forward to taking that to the next full council. But that's exactly why the Conservatives are saying we are funding the lift at Folkestone. Okay. Fine. Stuart Barrows asked a question about broken glass near Lansdowne, near Asda, and the roundabout had 3 flat tyres on a bike in the past 2 weeks. Okay, Stuart, I hadn't heard about that before. We'll absolutely feed that back into our teams. We've got particularly in the town centres, but now escalating out wider. We've got a lot of extra money and resource going into, cleaner, greener, safer. In this specific instance, it's about you're talking about cleaner, road sweeping and maintenance, etc. So I hope people are starting to see some of our town centres looking a bit more improved. Poole, we started off a pilot project in Poole in terms of uplifting a lot of the street furniture, a lot of painting and investments gone in, individual weed clearing and hoeing, all of that stuff. So we're really committed to improving it. Stuart, thanks ever so much for feeding in about the specific issue around the Lansdowne near Asda and the roundabout, and we'll make sure that message gets through to the specific teams in around that locality to improve it. Okay, interesting question. To be honest, Harry Moyles, we've just got a question in from YouTube about Bournemouth Town Centre, effectively. So where I've just started to answer that question, I'll just continue a little bit. Yeah, Harry, I think I certainly don't think Bournemouth Town Centre is awful. I think it needs a significant investment, and I think it needs, one of the first things we said as a Conservative administration was that we wanted to bring back pride in our town centres. So we put some initial money into that, 13 months ago when we became the administration. A lot of that focus initially was in Christchurch, because Christchurch had been effectively underfunded by the previous Christchurch Borough Council and Dorset County Council in terms of their street cleansing. So we as Conservatives have come in and first level up in Christchurch. And now we're trying to raise the bar across the area. So there's this. We just saw some articles this week about the success of that in Poole and how there's a real revitalisation in Poole. I think Christmas Tree Wonderland's coming in to Bournemouth on Friday. So again, investment going in there. We've had Festival Coast Live going in. We've got a significant amount of extra community safety officers, which is driving safety and making people feel safer in our town centres. So a huge amount of investments going in. What we've also done, Harry, is we put in for next year's budget, we suggested £3.8 million of further money in cleaner, greener, safer. So all I can say is I hear you. We do think these are areas that need investment. We have put money in. We are, putting animation in through Festival Coast Live, Christmas Wonderland, and we are also going much further next year in terms of another £3.8 million. So, Harry, thank you very much. If there are any specific issues, again, please email me, drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. But we are this new Conservative administration is investing in bringing back pride into our town centres. Okay, got a question. Apologies, I'll struggle to pronounce your name properly, but Vizcaya, I believe is the last name. When are you getting staff back into the office, as most other businesses have? Yeah, really interesting and valid question, and thank you very much for it. It's a couple of things playing into this. One, I think we realised, we did a survey of our staff, and I believe it was about 90% of people have said that they appreciate the ability to have some flexible working. So I think we're going to want to be a modern employer. We employ about 4,000 people. Some people, can't work from home. Some, but those that can, I think we need to make sure we're a modern employer that allows that flexible working, so we can support people to live their lives and bring their best selves to work every day in whatever way that works for them. So we will be having some of that. There's also a time when actually people need to be in the office and need to be collaborating, and so we're working through that now in terms of our new normal. Separately to us, separately from the pandemic, for us, we've also got the fact we're bringing three councils together, and particularly that we're having one effectively new civic hub, which is going to be the old Bournemouth Town Hall. So currently, we've got a huge piece of work going in, transforming that building internally, bluntly making it much more open plan, effectively. So there's a lot more hot desking, so that we can fit people across the board into that. So that work is currently underway, and it won't be finished until, I believe we're hoping it'll be finished in time for the next financial year. So we've got our office space is being developed and invested in, so we are able to bring people back It won't be, permanently, because it would be about, being a modern place where people can work from home some of the time and come into the office some of the time. Doing that in consultation with our staff as well. So, but thank you very much for the question, and that's hopefully it gives a bit about what we're going to do, but also a little bit about our individual circumstance around our transformation programme. Okay, fine. So Jane Askew's got a question around a plan for public transport. Our local buses are expensive when matched against distance travelled elsewhere. Okay, so thank you very much for this, Jane. So we work quite closely in partnership with our two bus companies. We've just literally got a paper coming to the next cabinet cycle in and around passporting further funds to the bus companies to support them in terms of the fact that their passenger numbers apologies have actually decreased because of COVID. We think it's really important that we do support our bus companies, because we need more people to be travelling by bus. We think, ultimately, we've seen a lot of extra bus patronage, across the conurbation over the last 10 years. And I think, the fastest growing bus patronage outside of London at one point pre the pandemic. So we're committed to local bus services. We're committed to funding them as and where we can. But ultimately, we don't run those companies. So it's about our partnership working with them. So Jane, I think you can see we've got over £100 million through the Transforming Travel Fund, or Transforming Cities Fund, that the government have given us 80 million. We're putting £20 million in to do a lot of cycling and walking infrastructure. So we are trying to make it a better sort of transport ecosystem where there's quality bus services that we're supporting, good ability to move around safely on foot and by bike. And then hopefully if that can take some of those short journeys off of the roads, whether that's by getting a bus or whether it's by walking and cycling, that enables the roads to be freed up for the people who can need to use them. So Jane, we are doing a lot with our bus companies at the moment, and we're absolutely committed to that wider agenda of helping people to move around. Okay, so I've got a question from Nick Finnemore, and it's about the winter warmer homes grant. So we've actually got a wide piece of work coming in around winter resilience. We're really fortunate to receive, I believe it's around £2.6 million from the government, and in our last cabinet we accepted that and talked about what we were going to do about using it in terms of our sort of winter resilience programme. So we're passporting some of that money directly to food banks. We're going to some of it through the brilliant work that Dorset Community Foundation have been done in terms of supporting communities, and also that we're actually moving towards, I think, in terms of the free school meals campaign, that we were very happy to step up and support back in last October half term, and now a year on, we're actually doubling the amount of money going into that. So rather than £15 vouchers, we're able to deliver £30 vouchers and commit for it as well throughout the rest of this year. So Nick, there's a lot of work going in and around that. Do watch this space for any of those further announcements, but we're really pleased to say we're being really proactive. We thank government massively for the huge support that they've given us to fund a lot of that. We were doing some of this stuff anyway. We'd committed to the free school meals piece. We were adamant, and BCP Council would deliver for our children and the communities in that regard. We've given money to as part of a matching fund to Dorset Community Foundation, in our February budget. So, but now we can go further because the government have given us a further 2.6 million. Okay, so we've got a question from Stuart Corney. Have you driven around the area from Christchurch to Poole at night? Roads unfit for purpose, roadworks everywhere, cyclists not using cycle paths. Yeah, Stuart, I think it's so I regularly drive between Christchurch to Poole. We've got one of our engineering factories is in Poole, and another one of our engineering factories is in Christchurch. So I'm regularly between the two of those. I know, as a business owner in across the conurbation. I think anybody can notice that there are significant roadworks on at the moment. Some of that's unavoidable. And as an area that wants to be making those long-term cycling and infrastructure, walking improvements, we are in the process of spending £100 million on our road infrastructure. You can't do that without having roadworks. I think one of the really important things is communicating them better, making sure they're planned, so they're not in any particular area, not overly impacted at one point. But Stuart, we're investing in the area at pace and at scale. So there are going to be some roadworks. So but we do our very best to manage and mitigate them. Okay. So Rowena Ross, I think it's a really important point. So how can we address car crime in Charminster and dealing? I'm presuming drug dealing. Lots of people reporting, but to no avail. Okay, Rowena, that's really interesting to hear and really important. I think we did a few of these sessions ago. I was joined by the Police and Crime Commissioner, David Sidwick. He's had a relentless sort of campaign in around antisocial behaviour, and I think he really stood on that when he wasn't a police crime commissioner, his antisocial behaviour surveys. He's absolutely committed to moving forward for that agenda. People should feel safe in their homes and in their areas. We as a council have now put significant extra funding into community safety officers, for one, and a number of other initiatives. So we're absolutely adamant that we need to address this problem. Rowena, I'm really, so mine and my colleagues are part of my ward is in Charminster. So we're really keen to hear from you about specific instances. So Rowena, please email me at drew.mellor@bcpcouncil.gov.uk. We're committed to trying to make the areas feel safer. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but it's something that's going to take investment over a long period of time, but we are doing it. Part of the thing around making our places and our town centres and our more suburban centres, cleaner, is exactly that. So, it's been sort of a no broken windows policy. If you've got better environment, then you attract less crime and antisocial behaviour. So we're trying to do two things. We're trying to make sure it's, the places are better and cleaner, and we're trying to invest then in the deterrence around community safety officers as well. So a significant amount of work going into it. But if it's not working in specific instances, please tell us. Okay, Jeanette Geary, we've asked a question: why do you not offer all year round garden bin collection? It's always offered as a Christchurch residence, but stopped when BCP took over. Okay, so my wife and I, we pay for the garden bin waste, and it's very nearly all year round offer. Partly because we actually had to miss out a couple of our rounds in the summer because of COVID and the pandemic, effectively. So some of our crews weren't, we had to cancel some of our crews, which is now spread, and we put those back effectively in on the shoulder months. So Jeanette, it's about demand, effectively. So we see a lot more demand in and around the summer months. We absolutely, there's a couple of things also playing into this. We've got the government coming down with a white paper, I think it is, on waste generally, and about the expectation for councils to provide green waste. So we don't have to, it's not one of our statutory services, we have to do it. It's something we do. It's hugely popular, really well received. Just an interesting thing I only found out recently is you can, if you need more than one bin, you can get more than one bin. So by all means, please, if you need more than one, please, effectively buy them. In the white paper, the government's suggesting that it might have to become a statutory service of councils, and it's going to be really interesting to see in that whether that becomes an all year round collection, or it's about our discretion about when it's needed. But Jeanette, thank you very much for your comment. As I said before earlier in this piece, the first thing we did as administration was invest further money into Christchurch. You're specifically talking about Christchurch and about street cleansing and about how we cleaned up the streets and the detritus across our patch, but you're more talking about specifically individual residents there. So really glad we've got the green waste bin. We're doing it again next year. We're trying to keep the price as competitive as possible and encourage everybody to take part in it. But it is an evolving piece as we wait for the government's white paper. Okay, I've just seen actually that we're at 1:30 already. So what I'll do, I'll try and pick a couple of quick questions to answer, because I'm quite a long way behind. There's been a lot of questions today, so thank you very much for the questions you have raised. See if I can get through a couple of extra ones quickly. Okay, so Christy Lou, with Bournemouth High Street closing stores and suffering so badly, are there any plans for free parking over the Christmas period? Effectively, what we're looking at ways we can support trade. There's an existing Christmas parking scheme that we would like to support. We are having discussions with the BID, sort of business improvement districts, about how that should be shaped either this year or going forward. I think we saw some articles this week in the local press around the resurgence in and around Poole, and how that high street's really working, already starting to work. But we've got both on the quay and the more Dolphin area, and there's work to do in that middle strip. But the high streets are there if we want to use them. We want to be able to support that through Christmas parking offers, but all year round, and we are absolutely reviewing that, Christy. So watch this space. Okay. Yeah. So Hayley Cuff, have you considered working with local bus companies to make them affordable? Well, we do. We already support a number of routes. We put our own money into a number of routes to make them cheaper, and to make sure those routes are there. And we're actually making decisions shortly to put a significant amount of extra funding that we don't have to put into bus companies there. So we're already doing a huge amount, Hayley, and we'll continue to do so. Okay, fine. Okay, so Steve Rose, why keep wasting? And then I'll have to close. Why keep wasting money on cycle lanes, not roads? Well, effectively, it's all part of the same solution. So we're putting £100 million. 80 million pounds has come from government. 20 million pounds being put in locally across our transforming travel, and that is on roads and on cycle lanes. As well, effectively. So Steve, we've got one of the most congested conurbations in the country. I think we're the third most congested place outside of London. Huge amount of evidence of just build more roads, they just get filled up. So what we need to do is we need to make sure our roads can move properly. So talked earlier around getting from Bournemouth and Poole, Christchurch, effectively getting across the conurbation. People are going to need to be able to drive there, so we're going to need to make sure those people who need to use cars can use the roads properly. There's some more elderly people or young people with young children. We absolutely can't just accept the fact that our roads are congested. One way to do it, and the best evidence way to do it, is if you can reduce the small journeys, so people taking a mile journey, under a mile, 2 mile journey, and if you can then get some of those people who can, people who want to walk or can use a bike, and you provide the environment to do it, then you take those people off the road, so the people who want to get across the conurbation in the car can. Elderly people with children, can use roads and they get less congested. So we're committed to that. We want to do it in a well consulted way rather than a we know best way. So we've hopefully been a bit more consultative around some of the road closures. And it sort of explained why we're trying to do them, but that's effectively why we're trying to do it, Steve. So thank you very much for your question, but hopefully that's given some explanation to it. Okay, I'm quite a long way over time now, so apologies. We'll try and come through all the questions that we can do online, so please look back for your answers. Got another one of these sessions in 2 weeks' time. Really enjoy doing the sessions where we have a individual topic. So again, please, any ideas on specific topics you'd like to have a look at, we'd really like to see. I think what we will do, I think it makes sense. We have quite a lot, Steve, your last question in and around that whole transforming travel and travel congestion comment. So it might be worth doing one of these sessions on transforming travel and getting our team in to say what actually is going to, how that money is going to be spent over the next couple of years, and what we're trying to do and why. Really important to us to get feedback from everybody about which parts work, which parts don't work effectively. So we'll put one of those sessions in, and hopefully that's helpful. Okay, that's it from me. Plug again for the Christmas Tree Wonderland, which starts on Friday. So get into Bournemouth Town Centre. We're spending a lot of money, trying to clean it up, tidy it up. We're being really ambitious about it. The Christmas Tree Wonderland is amazing. It's going to be absolutely outstanding. It's a real great tourist destination in its own right. So come in and support our town centres. pool resurgence going on really well. And a huge amount going on in Christchurch with their new bid business improvement district just landed there. So we've got a great place. Please come and use it. Support your local retailers. And thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. Cheers. Bye-bye.